And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. A very, very busy week in the world of sports. A whole lot going on in a very short amount of time. And we're only going to scratch the surface of it today because, frankly, this is not a 19-hour long episode. But we are going to hit on the important things. It is DJ, joined as my very busy and somewhat remorseful co-host, Kelcey, who you're dealing with it this week, my guy. You're dealing with it.
Yeah, we're going to get into it a little more, but let's just say the feelings are continuously being hurt by more teams now than just one. I can't catch a break. These sports gods are out to just spite me in so many ways. It's at this point in time, it's getting ridiculous.
To quote the great philosopher known as Billy Madison, it's assault, brother. They're coming right after you. And you know what? That's going to take us. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into the opening part of the show. That is the tip-off brought to you by our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BELLUPSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase for any set of tickets for sporting events, concerts, anything that requires tickets, $20 off your first purchase. And my, oh my, you know what? Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones might no longer be the most ridiculous general managers / decision makers in all of Dallas sports right now. Their title might have been usurped by the Dallas Mavericks as Luka Doncic, 25-year-old superstar, heading into the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you think, oh, wow, they must have got a ridiculous haul trading a top 3 player in the world, arguably, well, yeah, you take a look for yourselves. You could be the judge if you think this trade is worth it. Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris heading to the Lakers. Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-rounder from the Lakers heading to the Mavericks. And then Jalen Hood, Los Angeles Clippers 25 second rounder, and a Dallas 25 second rounder heading to the Jazz, who just kind of randomly showed up in here just to basically get their name in it. They were the salad to this entree, if you will. But big story, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic swapping places. My oh my, you know what, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, you are off the hook for pure Dallas fans, not necessarily for Kelcey, but for the only Dallas sports-centric fans, you are off the hook is, what are they thinking? Like, we're going to start there. What are they thinking? And you know what? Before I get too far into it, there is one thing we're going to take a look at. We always, when something stupid happens, we like to give voice of the people. And once we drop the expo, clearly we're not the only ones who think that the Lakers clearly won this one, 76 to 24%. And 24% of those is the Mavericks GM. I'm sure he found our account and used all his burners to vote. That's exactly what happened. But Kelcey, what happened here? What are the Mavericks thinking? Did they hang around the Joneses too much?
I'm a little worried because I'm going to be in Dallas later on this month, and I think there's something in the water. Just some kind of dumb pill and some dumb drink that just makes you not pay attention to what you're doing. And if this was 5 years ago, obviously Luka being 20 at that time, not probably possible, but this is 5 years ago. That Anthony Davis, I'm more than excited about. 31-year-old Anthony Davis, who is struggling with early onset arthritis and other knee issues. I don't feel as comfortable with that being a big part of this trade. Like, this is the headliner for Dallas. Like, I don't know about that. Now, putting him together with Kyrie, again, 5 years ago, I'm way more excited about this. Right now, Kyrie has been playing well. Anthony Davis is playing well, but he's also not on the floor every night. Now he's got to be on the floor every night. He's got to be playing a 4 or 5 role here, really a 5 role, which he statistically played better than the 4 role, even though he feels like he plays the 4 role better than the 5, but I digress. Karl Anthony Towns is calling. But, this is a situation where you look at it and you just wonder what they were thinking. Like, there was in the press conference, you heard it, and you saw Jason Kidd's face where the GM's talking about, him and Rob Pelinka were going back and forth, and it was amazing they were keeping it out of the media because these big trades, they don't ever keep it out of the media. There's a reason it was being kept out by the Lakers. They didn't want anybody to get rid of their honeypot. Like, that is like, they were so excited that this offer was out there because they're already looking for a potential future replacement for Anthony Davis. And now you just gave him a 25-year-old world-class superstar who, yeah, he might be 10 pounds overweight. I'm sorry, as if I don't know what that's like. You know what? The guy can get in shape, and now you just gave him more momentum to get into shape. Instead of trying to incentivize it on your own, you're like, you know what? You're not good enough for us. You're going to LA. What superstar doesn't know the Showtime Lakers? What superstar doesn't know Kobe, Bean Bryant, and Shaq with the Lakers? Doesn't remember Rick Fox? Who doesn't remember any of these great players to play for the Lakers? And now Luka gets to go over there and just dominate now. He gets to play with LeBron, who wouldn't want to do that? I don't care if LeBron's 40 or 20. Like, this is insane from the standpoint of what were they thinking? I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Like, what is going on in Dallas that they think this is acceptable, that you can just get rid of a superstar player, or on the football side of things, hire a dumb coach? Because hopefully Brian Schottenheimer proves me wrong, but right now, not doing great and proving me wrong in any of that. And then with the Mavs, I just don't even know anymore, man. What are you doing? Mark Cuban gets rid of his holding stake in the Mavs. He's now a minority owner at the Mavs, and it all goes to hell. By the way, Dorian Finney-Smith, also a Laker recently. So now those two partner back up again, Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith.
You kind of mentioned it. The idea of Kyrie and Anthony Davis, that's actually pretty awesome. Like, that part's all fun and dandy. Like, that part's great. I don't like how you got there. That's the problem is,
Yeah.
not only did you trade Luka Magic, 25-year-old, for first team All NBA, I think all but his rookie year in the league at this point. Like, he's perennially a first team all pro or all NBA. You it's one thing to trade somebody of that caliber. It's one thing to do it on what feels like a whim. I know it kind of added up, but you did it in the middle. You basically did it in the middle of the night. Like when the Colts moved from Baltimore to Indy, you basically did it overnight so that no one else could get involved. The fact that you called him a fat ass and said he had a drinking problem on the way out on top of it, it's like, what are you doing? Not only did you just trade him after he bought a house and everything, add the motivation, you called him a fatty that needs to stop drinking. I'm sorry. And then you say he doesn't play defense. If he didn't change a single thing, if he added 15 pounds, he still took you to the finals last year. Like, this isn't, imagine if this would have happened, like, gosh, I'm literally trying to think of an actual realistic example. It's like after the Bengals went to the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow a couple years ago, if the next year, like, yeah, we're getting tired of you flaunting your money and you look a little fat and it's probably causing your injuries, we're going to trade you. Like, I can't even think of a real correlation to
No,
draw from it. It's that absolutely ridiculous.
It's Patty going to Dallas and the Chiefs claiming he was too fat and slow. That's the type of level of this move. Or Shohei Ohtani being shipped off back to Korea or Japan to go play for the next 10 years with it, instead of the Dodgers. Like, that's the type of level of stupidity this trade goes into the category of. Like, I can't believe this happened.
Let's throw on top of that as well, you didn't get a whole lot back for him. Like, you get Anthony Davis, who's great, but like you said, older, back end of his career, injury issues, to pair with your point guard who's older, back end of his career, has injury issues, is actually injured right now and has been. A team that is built around Luka Doncic. Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, that team is built around Luka and his skill set for him to be ball dominant. Then you bring Anthony Davis and Kyrie, who that window is going to be great for the next 87 games, give or take, before the wheels come off. And I don't think they're going to play all 87 of those games. So maybe this year and next year, you have a pretty dope window where you could be, they might even be better than the Lakers for this year and part of next year. But that's it. Like, it's not, after that, you've got to retool everything. So you better hit on the picks you got. Also looking at this just from the standpoint of, you were in the finals last year. 2 years ago, you were in the conference finals, where he bullied that 60-something win Suns team, where the meme of him staring at Devin Booker became a thing. Then you had that weird year in between where it wasn't great. Coming into this year, it hasn't been 100%. He's been banged up. He's not a great defender. Okay. He's not fat, but okay, let's say he's fat just because he's not completely shredded. You know who else was a foreign-born player who was elite offensively that was considered fat and didn't play defense? Nikola Jokic, just like 4 years ago. Remember, we used to joke about it was right as color cast is right when he lost all the weight. We're like, wow, skinny Jokic is a different animal. Since then, he's won 3 MVPs, a Finals MVP, and an NBA Finals, and has been to the conference championship multiple times. Luka's 25. Even if he was fat, which he's not, like he's 6'7", being 260, 270 is not outrageous. Just tell him to drop a few. Like, that's it. He's never going to be an elite defender. To be an elite defender requires a minimum level of athleticism in the NBA. Like, you can't do it if you're not somewhat athletic, because you got to be able to move your feet, get in front of people. He just can't be a turnstile, which he showed at points during last year. He's not a complete turnstile. Look at Steph Curry. He's not an elite defender, but he does enough. Got you 4 championships. This was absolutely egregious. And then from the Lakers side of things, this is elite for the future, because if you get Luka to re-sign, by the way, this trade also cost Luka $100 million because he can't sign that super mega duper max now. But he's going to make up for that in spades with the promotional opportunities he will get with the Lakers, which he's going to get anyway. But now you amplify it times a million with the Laker push. You're going to have the LeBron push behind you because they were already friends. They were already bros. Now you just amplify it. They're probably not going to be very good, though. I don't think the rest of him and LeBron's 40, he's 25, and they play the exact same way. And neither one of them's like, what are you gonna do? Tell LeBron to go be a spot up shooter? That is not his game. Or you're gonna tell Luka you just traded for go be a spot up shooter, but by the way, resign with us. It's gonna be a weird dynamic. Lakers are probably best case scenario, a second round of the playoffs. Is how I look at it for them. That's probably which is that'll work. I think
Better than they probably expected this season to go, anyways.
exactly. I do think what I for the future they are set right now, and you're going to the Lakers already had the allure of being the Lakers. Now you say come play with Luka Doncic, which the Mavs were getting, and now you have that with Luka too. Like this is setting him up nicely for the future. So I think long term it's gonna be great. Whenever Luka plays the Mavericks next, we're taking the over in everything. I don't even if he's healthy and has played at least one game beforehand, we're taking the over. But Mavericks, this was congratulations, Jerry Jones. You are free. You're no longer the Dallas embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to Kelcey, but to the sports fans of Dallas alone, you're in the clear for now. You're in the clear.
Well, let's be honest. Most Cowboys fans are probably pretty excited about this trade because they're probably not Mavericks fans. They're probably Lakers fans.
They
So,
haven't
and
been this
Dodgers
excited
fans.
since the Yankees won the World Series.
Yeah, or Yankees fans. That's a good point. No,
And they
you
all
know, this is just stupid. I hate when I see trades like this because it just seems so outrageous that a GM is going to be so frustrated. And it's not like this is the first time that he's shown his frustration towards Luka. If everybody remembers getting to the NBA Finals last year, he completely shunned Luka while Luka standing in the doorway, looking to shake the GM's hand, and the GM just walks right past him, shakes the hand next to the guy, and then walks right back the other way. Completely ignores Luka. Say what you will, cameras and pictures, they speak 1,000 words in cases. In those situations, that spoke a lot because Luka literally looked at him like, all right, that's how you want to play it. Like, I don't know what happened between this GM and Luka, who, by the way, the GM is a Nike guy, and Luka is a Nike, now Jordan guy. Like, this is a crazy concept. Like, what did he do? What happened in that relationship that you're going to be complaining about 10 pounds? I don't get that. It's not like he beat somebody up yet. We don't know that being a thing. He didn't Kristaps somebody. We don't know what the situation is, but there's obviously something else happening there that's just beyond what they're willing to give us, which is frustrating because it's like this doesn't make sense right now. I don't know if it'll ever make sense. But you know who probably benefits the most out of this? And this is maybe joking, maybe not. I actually don't even know if I'm joking or not. But Bronny James might be the biggest beneficiary of this entire thing because now you need a point guard, and there's Bronny who plays defensive point guard, and now he might be able to run a real NBA point like he does well, which he is. If you want to put him into a role, he is a defensive point. That's his role. He can get you on a fast break, but he's really running a point and playing defense, and he might actually be the biggest beneficiary out of all this, besides Luka getting out of Dallas here and being free now. This might be something that the Lakers look at as like, maybe we're right in drafting Bronny in the second round, and all those haters can go away. And obviously, I'm speculating. I really don't know if I'm kidding with that out. To be honest, I just looking at it across the board, that looks like the most logical winner here besides Luka and LeBron, because we all know LeBron loves Luka. He tried to literally sign him to the LeBron brand, which still feels weird to say that out loud, that LeBron has his own brand, but he tried to bring him into the brand for LeBron. And obviously he went to Jordan instead, but this is something that LeBron's talked about, and now he gets his dream before he retires, whenever that day comes. But yeah, Bronny might actually be the best one looking at this. Like, he's just probably pretty excited, and JJ Redick's excited to coach Luka in this.
What's ironic is now they just need a shot blocking big guy, which Dallas has two of those now. They don't need Daniel Gafford anymore, but they're going to be very interesting seeing what the Lakers do moving forward. I think long term future, they've drafted one elite superstar since like the 1980s, and yet they have like 15 championships during the time. Just absolutely crazy how it's been. They, however, weren't the only team that was really busy, much to the great dismay of Kelcey. There was another big trade that involved a star player. De'Aaron Fox is now heading to the San Antonio Spurs, and the Kings in return are getting Zach LaVine to pair with DeMar DeRozan like they are the Bulls of like 3 years ago. Kelcey, I'm feeling it for you this one. I'll let you go first because I can feel the dismay at this point.
I hated this. I said this on the show 2 weeks ago when they started talking about the rumors for Fox leaving. I hated it then. I hate it now. I hated it 10 minutes ago, and I'll continue to hate it another 10 minutes from now and 10 days from now. Look, Zach LaVine is a shadow of himself. I've never really been a big Zach LaVine fan. Never have enjoyed the way he plays basketball. I've always thought he's a better second fiddle and not a first fiddle. Obviously, the Kings have DeMar DeRozan playing outstanding this year. That's taking away a lot of touches for Fox, but I don't know why you're getting rid of one of the best point guards in the league today. Pure point guards, scoring point guards, whatever you want to say. He is one of the top point guards in the league today. And you got rid of him for a washed up two guard coming off of injury. Obviously, I'm being mean about it because I'm hurt, but Zach LaVine is not having a performance like he had been in the past. He's not the guy that's going to sit here and close out games. He's not going to give you 30 every night. You'd be lucky to get 22 out of him every night. Whereas Fox was giving you 20 plus. I believe 24 was what he's averaging, and 12 assists, somewhere 10 to 12 assists a night. Maybe it's 9 assists. I might be boosting that a little bit just in hopes, and as well as like 1.5 steals per game. Zach LaVine's not giving you those numbers, and you got what you got in return for De'Aaron is not going to match that as well. And the biggest reason this all happens is because the Kings yet again refuse to open up those pocketbooks and try to keep somebody in Sacramento, where we already know is not a destination for free agents. But it was with De'Aaron Fox. People wanted to come to Sacramento with De'Aaron because there was hope that the ball would get to them. So, yeah, it sucks. Lucky for Fox, though, De'Aaron gets to go down to San Antonio and go play with an alien. I'm jealous. I wish somehow this trade ended up in Wemby coming to the Kings. I think I would have given up everything to see De'Aaron Fox and Wemby together. I might become a Spurs fan at this point in time. I already do love their alternate jerseys. But yeah, I think what the Spurs are building is going to be something Pop can take advantage of for years. And for the Kings, you pretty much shipped out everything in this trade. You got rid of Kevin Huerter and all this as well. So I don't know what else you can do here if you're the Kings, other than just hope DeMar DeRozan, 36-year-old DeMar, who doesn't tie his shoes, can continue to carry the team, and maybe Zach LaVine can show up and give you 20 a night. But this is not hopeful. I mean, DeMontis is still there. Let's not get rid of Domus, but I don't want to put it all on his shoulders. He's still giving you 20 and 10, but at the same time, I don't think Zach LaVine's giving you anything a lot helpful.
I'm a little bit less hurt here, so we're going to reel in at this a little bit because Zach LaVine is still giving you 25, 5, and 5 off 50% shooting up. So he's still solid, and he's 29. So he's not complete dirt. However, this trade makes no sense from the actual basketball standpoint because him and DeMar DeRozan do the exact same thing, basically. Yeah. They're incredibly athletic guards who can still shoot. Zach LaVine's a little better from three. DeMar DeRozan, we know that mid-range game. Zach LaVine's probably your longer-term option because, like you mentioned, DeMar DeRozan's been around since LeBronto. He's probably in those final years. It just doesn't make sense because now you have Malik Monk playing point guard who's a bucket, basically. He can play a little point, but he's more of a bucket getter. Now you got a bunch of – this is a bonus. You run the offense through as a bonus, I guess, which could work. I mean,
they were already doing that anyways.
Like it's like how much does that change? That's basketball standpoint doesn't make sense. And what sucks is you give up Tyrese Halliburton to keep De'Aaron Fox and build around him. Then a few years later, you're getting rid of Fox too. That's why it doesn't really make sense. De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, as you mentioned, couldn't ask for a better fit for him. That De'Aaron Fox and Wembanyama pick and roll is going to feed families for a generation. That is the pick and pops, the pick and rolls, De'Aaron Fox in the fast break, Wemby rolling to the basket, because if you don't get in front of Fox, he will fly by you. The Fox and the Alien is going to be the remake to the Fox and the Hound that we all deserve. It's going to be absolutely electric. And you know what? Depending on how quickly they click, the Spurs might be in contention for like that 6, 7, 8 seed spot. They might be able to go on a little bit of a run here because they have a little bit of a squad. They got some depth to work on. Chris Paul's obviously still there, but there's going to be something there for a while. As far as your Kings go, they're kind of in the situation of, well, now you need a point guard. Now you got to go find one because now you got two guards. DeMar can play the three a little bit, which he is doing, but it still just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like you need to go get a point guard with De'Aaron Fox's skill set now, unfortunately. So that's why I like LaVine. I think he'd have been very good on just about every team. This is one of those where it just feels really weird. Like you put LaVine on the Spurs, I think him, Chris Paul, Wemby, that's quite the interesting setup you got there because LaVine can just go be a bucket for you, opposite Wemby. And then Chris Paul could be your 800-year-old distributor, etc. It's just weird when you pick. We already have seen him and DeRozan isn't exactly an electric duo. So what do? You put them together again, just on the West Coast. With maybe it's a bonus that he is the engine that makes that thing go round. Maybe I don't know. Like they say fat bottom girls make the world go round. Maybe Sabonis makes the world go round in Sacramento. I don't know, but not the finest move for the Kings. Outstanding move for the Spurs. I love this for De'Aaron Fox too. That is going to be That's the inside out duo that I think NBA teams strive to want to make, especially if Wemby can just have a cheeseburger or two, just get a little thicker so he can, bully in the paints a little bit. I don't need even skinny Jokic still has him by a few feet in diameter, so he's got to be able to handle down there a little bit. But this
Yeah.
is long term. This is going to be quite the move. The Spurs might be back. They might be back.
Yeah, if the Kings were smart, they would have tried to get CP3 out of this somehow. But they didn't even bother. Like, they didn't even bother trying to find a replacement point guard here, and that's what kills me. It's like you got rid of De'Aaron, but what did you try to get back for De'Aaron? Because, like, I mean, positionally, like, what are you doing? Malik Monk is just not the guy for the starting point role. Like, you need a distributor, and right now, it's not it. I mean, unless you want to try to figure out a way to get Max Christie up in Sacramento. I mean, obviously, Doug Christie being in position there would maybe bring the Christie back to the family. I don't know. I just feels weird. Like, you get rid of something like De'Aaron Fox, like you expect more. And then let's just not forget, we're 3 years removed from Tyrese Halliburton being traded away. And what are we doing? What if you wanted a point guard for the future, then you should have traded De'Aaron then and kept Tyrese. But instead, you traded Tyrese, you kept De'Aaron, and you're like, you know what? This didn't work, so we're just going to get rid of a point guard position altogether, and we're going to bring in another wing, shooting guard, small forward type of player that plays the exact same as a guy we already have on the team. Like, that's just
For context to it all as well, Malik Monk off the bench, 18 points, 6 assists, give or take on the season. Great second team leading the way is that where I'm very weird about how he's going to fit in that starting point guard role. I'm worried it's going to be like what they tried to do with Bradley Beal in Phoenix, where you put him out of position just because you're a guard doesn't mean you could. It doesn't quite work that way. De'Aaron Fox giving you 25 and 6 and 5 as that true point guard. Can only imagine that might go up, especially those assist numbers. Now that he could just kind of throw the ball up in the air and Wemby will be around there somewhere. But
and he can be your number one scorer too if you really want to.
at any given moment, he can give you 40, or he can give you 15, or he can give you 40 and 15.
Yeah.
One thing we know about both the GMs of the Kings and the Mavericks is they might be out of their mind. They haven't been making some magic trades recently, and I think they might need a little bit of help. They need something to get their mind right.
That they do. Thankfully, our friends over at Magic Mind have come through in the clutch yet again for another month. They are hooking me up with part of their 7-day challenge. They're giving me their performance shot, which, let's see if I can get the picture to work out. We've talked about this before. Reclaim your brain is the best way to say it, and that's exactly what both Dallas GMs need to figure out how to do, and Sacramento needs to figure out how to do. If you guys haven't checked out magicmind.com, Magic Mind at all, when we talked about it last month, we talked about it previously before that, it is a performance enhancing shot. So it goes with your morning routine. It just goes with my coffee every morning. I already hate coffee, so this is kind of takes the edge off the coffee. It really helps me out, though. It helps me refocus, get motivated, and get productive going into the day while keeping my stress levels down. And it really helps me just keep that brain fog, that midday brain fog, which I've always suffered with. At midday, I'm ready to fall asleep, take another nap. Magic Mind has been able to help me prevent that. And part of that comes from their all natural ingredients, doctor approved mushroom nootropics and adaptogens, plus 100% of your daily vitamin C and vitamin D per bottle. So this little bottle right here, 100% of your 100% of your daily vitamin C and D, which in Ohio, I need as much vitamin C's and D's as I can get because it's wintertime. It comes and goes. But I'm part of their 7-day challenge. I'm in day 3. It's been absolutely fantastic so far. Gotta love it. And this is going to continue on for a couple more weeks for me. But that time release caffeine is what I'm able to fight off that midday brain fog with and get through the entire workday without the exhaustion. Get ready for the podcast later in the afternoon. 8 o'clock usually is when we start recording. And, I don't have that exhaustion I've been feeling in the past. So if you guys want to check it out yourselves, head on over to magicmind.com/HLS Sports. So it's changed from last month. Magicmind.com/HLS Sports. And you can enter your code HLS Sports 20 at checkout to get up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. Again, take part in their 7-day challenge. See what you can do with their Magic Mind mental performance shot. It's been absolutely fantastic for me. Gotta recommend it. That code is HL Sports 20 at checkout, and the website is down below, www.magicmind.com/HLS Sports. And don't worry about getting that brain fog that they get in Dallas right now. I'm already going to Dallas. I don't need that more of that brain fog. But DJ, speaking of brain fog, there is still one more team that experiences a lot of fog, and right now it seems to be brain fog as well.
You know what? I don't know what's going on with these GMs' mind. I don't know what kind of magic they're not working with, but I'm also going to Dallas this week. So, and who's not going to be joining me in Dallas most likely is the next guy we talk about. That'll be Myles Garrett, who now has recently demanded a trade from the Browns, basically citing he did not want to go from Cleveland to Canton, throwing the GM's words right back in his face on that one, saying he wants to compete for a championship. And needless to say, that's not going to happen in Cleveland right now. And after looking at the landscape, seeing things, he's like, yeah, this ain't happening. I'm 29 years old. Let me out of here. Arguably the best defensive player in the game, rating defensive player of the year until, well, Saturday. We'll see. He might be back-to-back at that point. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not really surprised, I should say. I mean, it makes sense because that team's a mess. The Deshaun Watson trade and those who supported it and engineered it, well, clearly it has completely destroyed this team from the top down because he has not been available. Let's just start there in the first place. When you give it that many assets and your quarterback hasn't played a full combined season over 3 years, that's issue number one. That means you're not getting a chance to return on investment. Two, when he has played, it has not really been good. His best games were a half against Baltimore and kind of looked okay here and there. And then see, all of that money you haven't been able to sign people or replenish the roster with draft picks. And now these prime players are older. And Myles Garrett's kids looking about getting old, like, nah, not going to be me. I'm not going to die here. There's your cap issues are a mess moving forward. He's a partial owner of the Cavaliers, and he's asking to get out of there. So that's how you know it's bad. And he knows more than we do about what's going on in there. Joel Petonio has said he will retire before going through another rebuild. So hope maybe they do him a solid and offer him a trade, get him out of there too. But if I'm the Browns, this is the sign of, oh God, tear it all down. We need to trade everything. Him, Denzel Ward, Joel Petonio, Wyatt Teller, David Njoku, every player you have with value, you need to look to move them. Get every draft pick you can back. You're gonna have to cut Watson. Just take that cap hit. That's not working. It clearly is not working. He's torn his Achilles twice in the last 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is. You can't make this stuff up. And if I'm Myles Garrett, teams are gonna trade for Myles Garrett, there's 31 teams that could use his services. Maybe 10 that he would really want to play for because he wants to compete. Maybe 5 of those. So the best case scenario fitting those things as far as can afford him to. I'm gonna send him to Washington. You get him in the NFC, so you don't have to deal with him. A contender that could use a pass rush and has money. So I hit all the bases, Kelcey. It's your turn, Cleveland Browns fans. I'm sorry. You know what, Cowboys fans, you don't have it that bad after all.
Yeah, for your average Cowboys fan, they probably feel pretty good. Like I said, they're Lakers fans, so they probably feel pretty good anyways. For me, seeing the Kings do what they just did, seeing the Lakers do what they just did, I'm hurt even more. So I feel still a little worse than Cleveland fans. I've actually been talking to a lot of my coworkers who are Browns fans, and they all have the same reaction. It's, well, we expected it, and I agree. I was surprised when I first saw it. Obviously, just like everybody else is, a superstar player again, especially what we just saw, Luka, De'Aaron Fox, these guys being on the move, and you see another superstar. It's like all of a sudden, just like, all right, well, hey, you know what? I want out too. I can't say I blame them though. That ownership has not done the Browns fans and the Browns players any favors, especially not. I mean, really, the best favor they did was I can't think of one. So
I got nothing.
Yeah, at this point in time, I honestly don't know what the best thing that the Browns ownership has done, other than allow the movie Draft Day to be created. I guess is the best thing they've done in recent memory. But yeah, it's just not working. The Haslam's need to go if they're going to figure this out. I stand by everybody in Cleveland pitches in $5, buy the team, call it swell. Myles Garrett might stay that way because it's a fan run team. I'm sure Donovan Mitchell would be happy to pitch in some money as well. But it's a crazy situation where, like you said, he's a part owner. He's a diehard Clevelander, really, it feels like at this point in time. Maybe you just don't have to worry about him going to Pittsburgh. Is probably the one team you don't have to worry about him going to with all that past history and helmet tossing and such. But every other team, as you said, there are 31 other teams. I'm including Cleveland. 31 other teams that are available to him. 32 teams if we include Pittsburgh that want his services and deserve his services and need his services and will pay for his services. 31 of them will at least pay. Maybe 30. I don't think Dallas is going to pay either. But there's absolutely an opportunity for him to end up anywhere and improve his career. And honestly, I think the one thing he misses from his career is a Super Bowl. If you go down that checklist for what gets you into the Hall and what makes you unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, he's checked off 99% of them. The number one thing on that list is Super Bowl, preferably multiple Super Bowls, but at least Super Bowl and potentially Super Bowl MVP goes with that. So, for where I think he's going to land, part of me wants to go something funny and say Cincinnati just to see if he stays in the state of Ohio, because I could see that happening. I mean, they need a pass rusher, but I don't think they're going to pay that money. But him being, I think if he leaves, he's leaving to a different conference, is where I'm going. I also don't think he really wants to go very far. I don't think he's going to end up in a Texas team. So as much as I would love to say he ends up in Dallas or wherever he ends up, depending on where I finish being a fan of as well, maybe I just put my backpack on Myles Garrett's back and I ride with him wherever he lands. But part of me thinks he needs to go to a big place, needs to go to an LA, needs to go to a New York type of situation. And out of those, I do think LA is a perfect opportunity for him. I do think somebody like the Chargers potentially, which probably is not the LA most people are thinking of, but I think the Chargers could be a team that makes a splash and goes and gets him. And a sneaky one in there could be the Raiders, but I'm going to say the Chargers is where I think he ends up at. I think for some reason he meshes well with the Harbaugh, and I think it's not going to be the Harbaugh in the same conference as the Browns. I don't think he wants to become an enemy of Cleveland, although I don't think he would ever be considered an enemy of Cleveland, despite whatever he could do to that team when they play, especially if there's going to be no left tackle there to protect whatever they have playing quarterback. So, yeah, I'm going to say the Chargers. But, yeah, this franchise, scrap it, send it to Baltimore again, do what you got to do, because this ain't working. I guess not Baltimore, but send it somewhere because this ain't working. I guess they're going to send it to Brook Park. But yeah, this is not working for Cleveland. They got to figure it out. But Myles, for me, I say the Chargers are probably a good landing spot where they have some cap space and some things to work with, and it's in a different conference.
I do think that the Bills would be an interesting one if they could find a way to make that work, because even the GM had talked about, if I could add a Chris Jones, that would be great. Well, here's your opportunity to add a Chris Jones like character, but they don't grow on trees, and you're gonna have to give up a lot to get him. Obviously, you talk about fun options, since we're gonna throw him into the other conference too. Him in Tampa Bay would be fun too. They could use a little pass rush help. You reunite him in the Bake Show just to annoy some of the Cleveland faithful. Tampa Bay has the picks to give up, considering I think they pretty much have all their normal picks. Baker signed for a few years. Mike Evans is there. Your pieces are kind of locked in. So that would be a fun one too. But the Rams you mentioned, there's a lot of good. It's whoever can pay him and is willing to fork up at least 2 1s and a 2 is what I'd imagine. Or like 2 1s and a 3 plus maybe something else. Maybe Dallas just sends Micah Parsons from straight up. Who knows? I don't know. But
yeah. By the way, the Chargers have the 5th most projected cap for next year. So your Washington pick, by the way, number 3 most cap space.
So Washington and the Chargers make a lot of sense as far as cap space and contender teams too.
That's a good one. So turns out Detroit, 8th best cap space available next year.
Wouldn't have to go very far. You could be right by the lake. So maybe head on over to Detroit, him and Aiden Hutchinson. You know what? Who needs coordinators? And you got those two. The rest will figure itself out. Doesn't matter. Jared Goff, if you have a bad day, it's fine.
Zadarius Smith?
I think he's a free agent now, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Well, maybe they bring him back anyways for the fun of it.
Just the whole band back together at that point. Just everything to spite Cleveland at this point. Who, if you ask their fans, they want perfect timing and Shedeur Sanders. And for Shedur's sake, I hope that doesn't happen. I want to see him go to the Raiders, but that's a story for another day. We're not going to send him to Cleveland. Because there's one other player, tension on the move. You mentioned LA. We're going to talk about the other LA. Is they seem to be emptying their cup of Cooper. As they told him he will be traded. Looks like he's on the move. They're not going to be keeping him. I'll keep mine short and sweet because I think Cooper Kupp's awesome, but injuries have derailed him since winning Super Bowl MVP. He's still very useful. Best fit for me, send him to the Chargers. He doesn't have to even leave his house. You get to go, you pair him up with Ladd McConkey, and on top of it, you get an experienced, reliable receiver with Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, and squad. And that means Harbaugh can do what he likes to do best and draft big guys and running backs, etc. So he doesn't have to waste a draft pick on a receiver. So I like the Chargers. It seems like a very safe and easy fit just to give Herbert another reliable target as Ladd McConkey continues to emerge as a 1. Gives Quentin Johnston a chance to just be that random deep threat who gets 3 catches for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns in a month, but he does it all in a single week. And then that Cooper Kupp could just be gets open savvily and converts some third down. So, better. He's fat. He's sneaky fast, as they like to say about people of his pigmentation. So, I think he fits in the Chargers, and you don't have to go very far.
He's one of those exciting whites, if you will.
First one in, last one out type of guy.
Yeah. Thanks, John Gruden, for all that stupidity. Speaking of John Gruden, that's my Cooper Kupp landing place. Is his former home twice over, Las Vegas. I think he doesn't move far. I think he loves the West Coast. I think he also is a guy that would probably want to switch conferences away from the Rams, so he doesn't have to go back to the Rams immediately. At least play twice there a year potentially. And I do think he wants to go to a different conference. So I think the Raiders are a situation where he can walk in and he can get paid to walk in there, and he's going to have pretty much his run as a number one there. I don't think it changes, and he has a strong tight end there who, well, he's not going to take away your touches like Puka Nacua will. So I think we can get a better Cooper Kupp if he goes to Vegas. But yeah, I like Las Vegas as his landing spot. I don't think he has to go very far. What is that? 2.5 hours with traffic going from Vegas to Los Angeles. Like, it's not bad. So maybe that's where they go when the Hyperloop finally gets built, an hour and 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I'm going to continue my Shedeur Sanders to the Raiders hype train. I'm going to ride that one all the way till April. And I think he would appreciate that as well. So you have a top 3 tight end in the NFL, and he sure as hell ain't number 3. So Pete Carroll,
by the way, a fun one for that, by the way, Minnesota, Justin Jefferson and him together. Minnesota.
Madison. That could be something. Reunite with Kevin O'Connell. JJ.
Top seven caps.
Sam McCarthy. JJ/Sam Darnold/ whoever they decide to sling under center. You know what? They'll appreciate that. That's a good option for sure. But the Cup's going to be empty in LA, but no, it's not going to be empty. Is our main event segment. We're going to go from a Cup to a really, really big bowl. One might even call it a Super Bowl. We're going to go and just take a look at the Super Bowl. Just a few quick previews, breakdowns. We're going to give a look at it. So, Kelcey, I'm going to start with you. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs to start. The 2-time defending champions going for 3-peat. You got one key to the game. What's the key to the game?
I'm not going to be funny about it, but no. Key to the game is get Travis Kelcey involved early and often. I think that's the key to this game. Get him involved, get him successful, get Patty rolling. That's all part of getting Travis Kelcey started. He is the safety blanket for Patty. So while Patty's doing all this wild scrambling, he always looks for Travis Kelcey. So that's where my target goes. That's where my key to the game, if you will, goes for Kansas City, is getting Travis Kelcey early and often going, and that's going to set that offense up for a long time.
My key to the game for the Chiefs is make sure that the wire funds are directly deposited into the officials' bank accounts for the game. Totally kidding. Just wanted to throw that one out there.
I was trying to stop myself from making that joke. I couldn't make it.
I was on top of it, but in actuality, I think the big key for them to the game is running the ball early and not even necessarily effectively, just actually being able to run it multiple times while the game is still close or you're ahead. Doesn't have to be, it could be Kareem Hunt's classic 3 to 5 yards, and that's about all you get. But he gets that every time. Isaiah Pacheco, I just need him to go forward because you run a lot of those misdirections later in the game. The play action rolling out to outside the pocket, hitting the flat every time. The Xavier Worthy end around, just the weird little misdirection crap that everyone does, but KC does better than everybody else. It makes no sense, but that's what having the best coach in the NFL will do for you. So I think just getting that involved early, not letting Jalen Carter and squad basically destroy the game out of the gate to where you don't get to run that stuff as effectively later. Because on the edges, the likes of guys like Nolan Smith, etc., Zach Bond, you're not going to beat them to the corner unless you're Xavier Worthy on that team. So you got to get them flowing the wrong direction first. You got to get the step on them. We talked about it last week. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL at exploiting leverage. One way or the other, I think just to get that going will involve hammering the ball early enough just so Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and squad can't wreak havoc immediately and basically just try and slow them down from destroying the game out of the gate. But speaking of the Eagles, Kelcey, I might have just gave you a little bit of a spoiler hint there. We're going to take a look at the Eagles. What's a key to the game for the Eagles as you look at them? What do they have to do if they want to get revenge in the Super Bowl?
Get your receivers involved. I'm going to say the same thing, but different players. I think both A.J. Brown and Devontae need to get involved early and often. And the reason is you run the ball well. You run it excitingly well. Forget the exciting whites. I say the exciting Saquon show because that's the thing that I think predicates that offense. But I think it's this thing that Kansas City is going to be expecting. And what always gets Saquon open is when you're able to pass the ball and get yardage downfield. Devontae is looking forward to having a big game. He's had a couple quiet games here. AJ Brown, you already know he's ready to go off at any point in time. 3 catches, 110 yards isn't out of the question with how good he can be. Obviously, I'm expecting more like 7 catches, 110 yards, but that's still some kind of a performance that I think would be putting them in the driver's seat where Saquon can then take the next step and be that guy that drives that force, keeps the ball in the Eagles' possession, and doesn't turn it over. Like, you get your receivers involved, your entire offense works 10 times better because now your linemen are ready to fire off the ball and take out anybody because now the pass rush on the other side is ready to go upfield and they're not going to be ready for a run block when all of a sudden you're lighting them up in the air. So this is a kind of maybe be smarter than the other person. Kellen Moore's, we already know, is a pretty intelligent offensive coordinator. So he can dial up a great game plan, and I think it's going to start with the receiving core. I wouldn't be surprised if within the first 3 plays there's a shot downfield to either AJ or Devontae just to see what happens.
I like it. If I was them, I think the first play of the game, I'm gonna come out in a heavy set and I'd play action, throw a bomb up to AJ Brown just to show them that I'm willing to do it. Just right out of the gate, because you can give it to Saquon on second down and probably get 5 yards. Like, just take your shot early, see if you can just be goofy with it. But I'm gonna follow a very similar thought process with different math. I'm gonna say get Jalen Hurts involved on the ground early. I don't need people grabbing his ass and pushing him for 3 yards. I mean, get him involved in the read option game, that quarterback misdirection like the one he scored on against the Rams, where Jordan Mailata could have scored himself after on the pole. He was out so far in front and everyone ran away from him. I think getting Jalen Hurts involved in the run game not only gets him going into the game, kind of like how Cam Newton used to talk about sometimes to get him rolling, call a couple of runs, almost get him hit a little bit, get him into the game. I also think it's going to be key down the stretch. We talk about kind of what the Chiefs like to do offensively with misdirection. Steve Spagnuolo's a dick, but in a good way. Some of those blitzes and the things that he dials up are maniacal. They shouldn't be allowed, but they are allowed, and I say that dramatically. He can't keep getting away with it, but he does, because he's a head coach defensive mastermind who just gets to focus on defense, because him and Andy Reid are co-head coaches at this point. And he just gets to focus on creating the most maniacal, menacing blitzes and setups and schemes all season, and he doesn't have to worry about anything else. And Andy says, just save them. We'll get there. Just wait. So this is literally him reaching into the back of the treasure chest. We saw him take a little dabble into it against the Bills last week. I think he's got a little something extra here. The way to thwart that is the quarterback being on the move. Bill Belichick, Nick Saban used to always talk about it. The ultimate equalizer was a quarterback who, when things break down, could just make you pay for it. You play the perfect defense, and then he makes some magic, and then you're wrong. And I think that's what Jalen Hurts could do is no more running around backwards, taking those silly sacks, no running, fading, throwing it away. If you can, 1-2, Saquon's open quick in the flat, you bolt and take 7 yards. Oh, just a quarterback run game. Using his legs to basically make Steve Spagnuolo have to think like, okay, am I really going to send Trent McDuffie and Eric Reid right off the right side again? Give him a second to not be diabolical. Don't let him be a free-range menace. Make him think twice about being a menace. And I think you'll have a chance because I think your offensive line can at least match Kansas City's defensive line. Like, Chris Jones is still outstanding, but you have the guys to go head-to-head with him. It's when Steve Spagnuolo they go to a gunfight and Steve gives him a rocket launcher. It's like, oh, thanks. It was bad enough when we were trading shots with pistols, and now I got to deal with this. So I think letting Jalen Hurts use his legs to throw off that defense just a little bit. Don't get Jalen Hurts killed now. Don't run him 90 times, but just a little bit. Don't treat him like he's Riley Leonard in the college football championship game on that first drive. We don't need that. We need just a little bit to throw things off in unique situations, which I think Kellen Moore, he's got a pretty deep treasure chest too, I'm sure. I think he's got some plays stuffed in that back pocket he's been waiting for as well.
Yeah. And by the way, don't forget the last time that Jalen and Devontae were on the same team playing in a playoff game in New Orleans, they beat the snot out of the team they were playing. That was 2017, 2018 year when they played the Sugar Bowl to get to the national championship game. They beat Clemson 24-6.
And that was when Jalen Hurts came. That was when Jalen Hurts was the starter as well too. So that was before the Tua tomfoolery the next week. So that was Jalen for anyone who needs their Alabama lore updates. But yeah, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting thought too. You know what, Devontae Smith, Super Bowl MVP prop bet. Maybe we'll take a look at that.
Well, he didn't have a catch in that game, so he was a rookie. He was still a freshman there. So
And you know what? The next game he played, he got the game-winning touchdown. So you know, and you
Yeah,
never
he
know.
wasn't even given. By the way, he wasn't even given the most yards, the receiving yards for that game for the national championship game. Even though his reception was 41 yards, Calvin Ridley was given the best receiver of that game for Alabama with 32 yards and 4 catches. Whatever.
I digress. But either way, that's going to take us into the last part of it. Kelcey, you don't have to make a prediction right now if you don't want to. So we're going to actually focus on something else. We're going to go with the over or the under in this one. For the Super Bowl, over or under? Are we going over the point total or under? Not going to make you make your prediction. We're just going to go with the over under.
Over under. What's the line at right now?
I believe it was 45. I will double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure it was kind of in that mid 40s range.
It's
It
hard
is
because
48
Super
and a
Bowl.
half. It's gone up a little bit. It's 48 and a half. It hasn't gone up.
That's
It's just higher than I remember.
25, 24. That's a hard one
5
because Super Bowl matchups don't usually go 30-30 type of matchups. Most are 20s, like 22-20 type of games. Like there's not very often that it is a big scoring game. And both of these teams are happy with holding the ball. So I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under the 48 and a half. I'm expecting a 24-21 type of game here more than a 29-27 game.
When they did play in the Super Bowl last, it was 38-35. So I'm going to say they hit the over again. I don't think it's going to be like that game, but I do think they're going to be a slow starts, and I think they're going to start trading explosives a little bit. I think the defenses are going to they're going to be maniacal early, then they're going to get a little bit greedy, and that's when the shots will start to happen. Xavier Worthy will randomly get loose for 30, and then the Chiefs will score like 2-3 plays later. Suddenly, Devontae Smith slips out behind someone, and the Slim Reaper gets a nice 30-yard gain. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley's bound to go off for like 140-yarder at some point. It's death tax as Saquon gets loose. So I'm going to take the over. I think it's going to be a very close one nonetheless, but I do think whatever, like you mentioned early on, especially, we're going to take the under for the first quarter. I don't know what it is, but I'm already feeling it at this point. But we're going to talk a lot more about the Super Bowl this coming week. Right before the big game, we will have the Belly Up Sports Super Show, where yours truly and Kelcey's truly will both be part of the show as well, so you don't want to miss that. We'll be live on the Belly Up's YouTube page, X page, everything you need, Facebook page, everywhere you need to find them. We'll have a host of other personalities, speaking on behalf of the Eagles, the Chiefs, and just what we expect to see in that game. You don't want to miss that. We will give our official predictions there, so you definitely want to check in for that as well. But without further ado, that's going to lead us into Kelcey's favorite part of every show, and that is, of course, Crunch Time. And for Crunch Time, as we mentioned last week, the Courting Kelcey segments will continue. We have all of them uploaded to our Instagram and our new YouTube page, the High Low Sports Extras page. Be sure to go give that one a follow. Everything is uploaded there, so be sure to follow theirs. Keep along with us for the journey. We got more coming up in the future as well. Kelcey, you got 6 bachelorettes to choose from right now with plenty more on the way. How you feeling on the rebound?
It feels a little surreal. This might be the first time in my life I've had 6 people even after me, let alone potentially 32 total folks. It might break my all-time record combined. But no, this is honestly it's fun. It's a fun conversation to have with some of the other fans in the league and see what makes them want me to become a non-Cowboys fan, I guess is the best way to put that. They become a fan of whatever team they are. It's actually fun to hear the conversation, and obviously we've had some close friends do some of the ones already, and I'm excited to see what we have in the future. Some strangers that we've never met before, and see what they have to say, because I imagine some of these teams are going to be a hard sell, but I'm excited to hear what they have to say nonetheless.
Yeah, we've had some hard sells, and we've had some good sells, and we've had some almost incels at this point. So there's plenty more to come. Be sure to check out our Instagram and our High Low Sports Extra YouTube page, where you can catch all the ones so far and every single one in the future. And be sure to tune in for when Kelcey does make his final decision in August before the start of the regular season. Might be the Fantasy Football Expo. We're still locking down an exact date, but we will be sure to tell you when you can figure out who is successful in courting Kelcey. It's going to be a very busy and fun offseason, but that's going to do it for us for this pre-Super Bowl show, and absolutely asinine amount of trades, trade talk, and everything going on right now. This is supposed to be Super Bowl week, and Super Bowl was the afterthought so far, but it will be front and foremost next week as we recap it and talk about either the end of the dynasty or, oh my God, they can't keep getting away with it. Be sure to let us know in the comments below who you're taking in the Super Bowl and give us a final score. If anyone gets it spot on correctly, we'll go and give you a nice little prize as well. But we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all again next week.